Speaking of 4 to 7, Rashee Rice. We got an update on him. Obviously, this is a very similar update to what we got on Jordan Addison, but Rashee Rice expected to miss 4 to 6 games of suspension. We don't know the exact number, and sometimes that number drops to 3. Sometimes that number goes to 8. We don't know exactly where it is, but we're going to assume a 4 to 6 game suspension right now. Rashee Rice, who obviously a lot of people love and played at an extremely high level last year. He was pretty much a top 5 receiver when he was healthy, and then obviously dealt with the injury towards ACL, out for the season. He is now back. Obviously, I think he missed a little bit of time in camp, but back healthy now.
Yeah.
And expected to miss the first couple weeks. His ADP has already kind of been adjusted for a suspension. Yeah. Even earlier on, he was going as like a wide receiver 20. A lot of people were unsure of the suspension. It crept back up into like the top 10 to 12 receivers. And now we're seeing it drop back down into this, high end, wide receiver 2-ish, mid-tier wide receiver 2-ish range. When it comes to Rashee Rice, obviously, I think that he will play and be effective. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure that I would take him as like this top 12 to 15 guy where some people have him ranked.
So he was going really high because he was going like beginning of 3rd round.
Yeah, it was like top of the 3rd round.
And that was when word came out that the court date got pushed back to like late January. That's why he got pushed up. And then the suspension the news came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
which was, it was kind of crazy. But so in this draft, and I'll be completely transparent. So in this draft, once again, like this is some, a lot of creators on TikTok that are in this draft. I had the 12th pick and I took him at the 401 just because I knew I wouldn't get him on the way back. Yeah. Now, what I'll say is if this ends up being 6 games or something, that's going to be way too high.
Yeah.
But if it ends up being the 4 games, the way I look at this is I love Rashee Rice. I think he's phenomenal with the Chiefs. He showed it last year. He showed it at the end of his rookie season. And it reminds me of like the Alvin Kamara suspension, where Alvin Kamara that year was going like 5th round when he got the 6-game suspension. But you knew what you were getting out of Alvin Kamara once he got back. Now, you may say we don't know what we're getting with Rashee Rice. He's also coming off an injury. But the fact that he was already at OTAs months ago, practicing with no limitations and was back at camp, that just shows me like he's good to go. Like this isn't going to be a situation like Godwin or Ayuk where these guys aren't even practicing. He's been practicing now for months. So I'm not worried about the injury. It's more of the suspension, how many games. But if he returns if he gets 4 games and he returns to that level that he was at the beginning of the year, where he was averaging 19, 20 fantasy points per game, and you're getting this guy in the 4th round, you can manage 4-game suspension easily and just get through those weeks. And then he's that guy for the rest of the season when you want him the most. That's a win. Now, if he ends up getting like 6 to 8 games, then I think he needs to probably go back into like the 5th, 6th round of drafts where there's that upside there, but you still have to wait. And then I know people will talk about Xavier Worthy and everybody else. To me, I'm not worried about that at all. I know what Rashee Rice was at the end, beginning of last year, end of his rookie season. I personally think he's that player. So for me personally, I think like 4th round if he ends up getting 4 games. If it's more 6th than 5th round, 6th round for me personally.
I like the player Rashee Rice, and I think he's elite, at least in this setup for the Chiefs. And especially if he is taking on this like kind of Travis Kelce middle of the field type role, kind of being a volume player. Obviously, he has like top 10 potential on a weekly basis. Where I get a little bit concerned is that like the team was dealing with so many injuries already last year. Isaiah Pacheco was out. You get Xavier Worthy, who was a rookie. You had Kelce not playing up to par. Hollywood Brown was out. Jalen Royal was drafted this year. Like there's a lot of other options in this Kansas City offense. I still think he'll be the guy when he comes back. Top 15-ish on any given week. Potentially top 12-ish any given week. I could say that as well. But where my concern is now, okay, if this is 6 games, like you talked about, 4th round's a little too high for me. And they also have a bye like week 10. So you're playing like 6 games, 7 games out the season without Rashee Rice. That could leave you in a big hole if you're expecting him to be your wide receiver 2 or your wide receiver 3. More so your wide receiver 2. Some people are taking him as their wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
So I think with Rashee Rice, it comes down to how have you drafted and where are you getting him in the draft? If you're in a league where maybe it's a 10-team league or an 8-team league and he could be your wide receiver 3 or there's enough talent available, do it. But if you're in a 14-team league or deep 12-team league where positions, you have to start a lot of players, I think I'm coming down on like, do I need to take him in the third or fourth round? Is it enough value? If it's 4 games, I'm with you. I think that his ADP is about right, and he'll probably pay dividends to those who draft him more so than like those who don't. But I think if you're reaching on him to say, I think he's going to be a top 12 guy.
Player.
Yeah, like, if he's that player.
Like that's the thing too. If he's that player. But
if you're reaching on him early, like to get him in this top 12 range, you're already at an L. You already lost, in my opinion. So that's the tricky thing with Rashee Rice.
And the thing I'll say too is in this draft, when I got him in the 4th, which I think this is like kind of what you talked about, I already had Malik Nabers and Amon-Ra St. Brown with my first 2 picks. So like the fact that I can get Rashee Rice now as my wide receiver 3 as just a total upside play there. And even if this is only a 2 wide receiver league too. So like those guys could be my guys the whole year. So now if Rashee Rice ends up only getting the 4 games, and if he is that guy, now he's just an elite flex play. Yeah. And I already have 2 mega superstar wide receivers.
Especially in those leagues, 2 receivers and a flex. Yeah. That's a great pickup. Now Rashee Rice is your 3rd or your flex. Now you have options there because you can even start a running back there. If you
you can. Exactly. So no, 100%. It kind of depends on your league and how you drafted. Definitely, if you go 2 running backs early, like I would not be drafting them, there. That's kind of rough as my wide receiver 1, but you have to just kind of plan around that. Like if you're a big, obviously like me, I'm a big Rashee Rice stan. So I know I can get him in the 4th round, and I know like what I have and what I need to address, how I need to address my team prior to getting Rashee Rice. So, but that's also, once again, we don't know how long he's going to be suspended for. And that's kind of a situation where drafts are starting now. Like there's a lot of people who are going to be drafting this weekend. So,
well, and it's rankings, right? Like it's where do you have him ranked? Because I think if you have him ranked alongside of the elite guys, you have him ranked wrong. But to me, he's right around the same range as a lot of question marks at the receiver position, like Jameson Williams, Xavier Worthy, the guys that have upside, but maybe we don't know what their true floor is. Like that's the same range that Rashee Rice can go in. And now you have to decide, okay, how have I built my team? Have I built my team enough to withstand a 4 to 6 game suspension? Okay, cool. Let's get Rashee Rice. If not, if you just need more like, hey, I got to hit on this player, maybe you're taking more of a Jameson Williams, Xavier Worthy, somebody that can have impact early on. So I think roster construction is a real thing, and we don't talk enough about that in the fantasy circles, but I think roster construction is a real thing, and Rashee Rice with the suspension. Now, let me ask you this too. Are you concerned at all about like a ramp-up period? Because he comes back week 7 now. Let's call it 6 games. He comes back week 7 off of the injury. The offense is moving already. Like there's already a well-oiled machine, I'm assuming, by this spot. Are you concerned at all about like him coming in and being immediate impact?
I mean, maybe like the high end that you would expect. I still think that he's going to be involved, and he's going to have his role. So I would say maybe slightly, but the thing also that I think a lot of people kind of forget as well is just for fantasy football. Yes, you want wide receivers who are going to finish as wide receiver 1s, but like the biggest thing is you want the points per game. What are the guys averaging per game? They may not be a wide receiver 1 this season because they miss 4 games, but like they're missing 4 games early on the season, then they come back and now they're averaging, 18 fantasy points per game. When you need them the most, that's the most important thing. So maybe slightly, but I just think that during the most important time of the year when you need him the most, he can be that player that he was last year. Hopefully.
There's an element to you got to get there too, though, because when you have 100%. Bye week start week 5, bye week start. So there's a chance now if you drafted him as your 3 or you drafted him as your 2.
Enough though. That's my opinion. Like I feel you had to feel I'm competent. I feel like I'm competent enough to manage without him.
But what I'm saying is you get to week 5 and you are counting on him as your wide receiver 2. And say you have a receiver that has a bye in week 5, week 6, or week 7, or before he gets back, or maybe before the ramp up starts. That's another player that's gone out of your lineup now. So now you're starting potentially your wide receiver 4 in there in your lineup, So that I would say you're right about being a competent manager, but not everybody is like that. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody knows how to do that.
That's why also like in this draft, what I did too a little bit is then I focused on running backs, and then like later in the later rounds, I ended up going with a lot more wide receivers to kind of hopefully one of them hits to. Well, in this draft, I guess I don't have to worry about it as much. In a 3 wide receiver league, that's what I would have definitely done. Really go wide receiver heavy to make up for that loss, and hopefully you hit on somebody that you can really rely on till he comes back. But I just feel like play the waiver wire, especially early on in the year, because there will probably be a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 that will hit early in the season. Try to, get that person if you can to make up for the loss.
Like, would you rather have Terry McLaurin or Rashee Rice?
Rashee Rice.
Damn. Terry McLaurin was, excellent on a per game basis last year.
You could say he's not even back.
Yeah, he's not. Hey, that is true though.
Time.
He's not. We got to see him. And to be honest, he might be a little slower to get up to speed just because he hasn't been on the field.